I was just thinking this morning, I was so excited to be here with you and to feel these vibes, and I strongly feel it. It reminds me of my childhood years at school when I was going on a field trip, and I got so excited, you know. You can feel it in your veins, and you are so excited about what's next, and it really kind of gets you going. And I felt that with the beautiful songs, and I feel it right now. And maybe you can even look at the person next to you and see if you can find that sparkle in his or her own eyes. Can you see that? Yes. Thank you so much, first of all, especially to Janet, but also to all the people who make it happen for me to be here. I'm very excited about it, and I rather actually wanted to stay in silence when you were speaking, but I was invited here to speak, so I better say something. And the other song that resonated so much with me was "You Are the Face of God," where it reminds me of what Rumi used to say. You know, you're just not a drop in the ocean. You are the entire ocean in a drop. You are the face of God. And so everything that we are seeking outside of us, of course, lies already inside of us. And that's what I truly, strongly feel while I'm here, listening to whatever has been shared so far. And so it's perfect to continue. I've been introduced in a beautiful way. I almost felt guilty that I didn't reveal something. You know, you can introduce me as a speaker and as even a CEO of a former, large corporation, but there is something I want to reveal to you, and it's a secret, and I haven't shared it much. And I personally believe in simplicity. I believe in the simplicity of life, and I believe in, we always know the expression of walking the talk. And we feel a person is real, when he really walks the talk. But I had to walk a long time first before I could talk the way I do now. So through experience, through hardships, we get at a certain place, and we may embrace that. I grew up in the Netherlands. I grew up in Europe. I traveled many countries, and one of my passions was, and still is, climbing. I used to climb many mountains back in Switzerland and Austria and France, and reaching for the top, but especially enjoying the journey. But this morning, the sun was rising and it was a little chilly. I was climbing as well, but I wasn't reaching for the top. It was a very different climb because while I was hooking myself up with some carabiners and roping myself up, and I was fixing a rope that was attached to a 100-foot banner. I was climbing a chimney of a coal-fired power plant back in the harbor of Amsterdam. I was an activist with Greenpeace. And it was something, sometimes you know what to do. You just know it's right. Even despite what people might think of you and think that you're silly or crazy, I just had to follow my heart. I just had to do something. I grew up in a small country where I realized the nature is so vulnerable. And so there I was, in this chimney. Press was coming up. Police was greeting me when I came back down. And I didn't have a criminal record, by the way. Otherwise, Canada would never allow me in. The next morning, I got up, I shaved myself, I showered, I dressed myself up in a beautiful gray suit, driving my large lease car to Amsterdam, to the place there where I was working. I was working for American Express. I was the CEO responsible for the bottom line of 3 countries. And there I was in the office. And I was working my way through everything during the day, and at the end of the day, I fell off, looking back at the day before, where I was climbing, with all my gear and for this greater purpose. And everybody left the office. It was about 7 p.m., and I was sitting there in my large office, putting my legs up at the desk, and just taking a deep breath and reflecting all that I've been going through. And I just couldn't feel fulfilled. It was the same feeling that I'd been feeling before. And I was just breathing, and I was just feeling everything that I felt. And that is so important, because we often have the tendency to go to solutions and to project and to find solutions in our mind. And while I was sitting there, something dawned me, and it took me back when I was 14 years old and I was at high school. And in the high school there, you have to make choices for certain subjects about what you're planning to do, connecting with the career, the study that you want to do. And my dad was really keen on making sure that his youngest son of the 3 sons that he had was doing really well. And I had no clue, I'm 14, what do you do? You're playing, you're hanging around, and you're not focusing on that. So he said, why don't you do some kind of career testing? We go through a whole psychological way of testing and all that. So I did that, and at the end of the day, they came up with some conclusions. And I won't go in that right now. I didn't really recognize myself in that, but it was about 3-4 months later. I was home. I needed to find something and on my dad's desk, and went through some papers. And there was the report of that one day of testing. And I was curious, you want to know what people write about you. So I was going through everything that they'd been writing, and at the end there was some kind of conclusion. It was pretty clear. They didn't really know what to advise. They thought I was not so very smart. I thought, really? I did well at school, and am I really that stupid? And I started doubting myself. Sometimes people tell, and they have the reasons, whether it might be doctors or like psychologists, and they tell you something, and deep down in your heart, you might know that it might not be true. It might not be that. But anyway, I started struggling at school. I started struggling for 20 plus years. And then I realized, leaning back in my big chair at the office in American Express in Amsterdam, I just got it. The reason why I was there was that I wanted to prove to my dad so badly that I wasn't stupid, that his youngest son was okay and he could do well. I wanted to prove to myself that I wasn't dumb, and I couldn't just understand before, why I was doing the things that I was doing. I was pretty good at that. I had really good results, and I was doing actually a great job there, but I didn't feel fulfilled. So when you go through things, and when people tell you, or maybe even a family or a community or just an entire community expects something from us, to behave in a certain way or to do certain things, what do? Do you think, well, they know what's best for me? Or do you keep following your heart? But that requires skills, that requires trust and some insights. And so there I was looking for more meaning in my life. I was looking for a better understanding. And with that meaning, I didn't know how to approach that. And so I just let it go. And it was about 2 years later that I woke up one morning in my house in Vernon. We moved. We took a decision to completely change our lives and to go for a different meaning in life. But I was asking for that meaning. And sure, I was given that meaning. Within a few years, my dad passed away. My older brother passed away. He had been addicted to hard drugs for a long time. In that same year, my best friend died in a ski accident. And then a year later, my mom passed away. And I was really, really, really down. I didn't know what to do. But it gave me so many insights. It gave me so many connection to a larger field. And you might call it the universe. We might call it God. It doesn't matter. We all have the same intention. We all have the same meaning, and we are all connected to that same field. But we often discount ourselves. And when I walk up the trails behind my house in the springtime and I see the beautiful wildflowers growing there, and I take this wonderful little tiger lily, orange tiger lily with those perfect brown spots on it, I look at it, I think, how perfect is the universe? How perfect, God creates everything that there is out there. And I see the perfection. And I know that the same force that opens up the flower in the morning when the sun starts shining, that is the same force that keeps your heart beating, that keeps my heart beating, and that keeps us connected with one another. Yet, I see the perfection in a flower and I discount my own perfection. Why is that? Why do we always discount our own perfection? Why do we doubt that while we see the beauty in nature? So nature is a huge teacher for me. And so through all that I've been going through all the pains that I've been experiencing, something started blossoming. One night I was out under the pitch black sky and I was looking at the stars and I was feeling really, really down. I didn't know what to do. And I looked up and I thought, wow, it's amazing. All those stars and the universe and how we are connected. And I just couldn't help by feeling gratitude for all that I was experiencing. I had felt everything that I needed to feel. I started healing myself. And with all the friends that I had around me, and actually brought me to the place where I am now. It is a wonderful journey, but we can make choices. We can feel, and we can feel the pain, and we can think, why me? Why is this happening to me again? And it's easy, when I'm out on my deck and I'm sipping my coffee and I overlook the valley, I can think, wow, I'm so grateful for everything that I have here. That's easy. We can all do that. But when things are not going your way, once you meet some adversity in your life, how grateful can you be? Can you see the message in everything that's happening? And can you say, thank you? Thank you for showing what I needed to see. And that is something that we can learn, because there is no good, there is no bad. There is no darkness and there is no light. It's all one. And sometimes we think we see the darkness and sometimes we think we see the light. But it's all one. What we seem, especially when we deal with challenges in our lives, we seem to kind of focus on that dark area that we're in. And when you come home tonight and it's dark, you put the key in the lock of the front door and you open the door and you can't see anything because it's dark. How often have you tried to start pushing away the darkness to see where you can walk? You say, hey, Dirk, that's silly. We don't do that. That doesn't work that way. Well, it seems that we do that when we have emotional things going on in our lives. We seem to focus on something that we don't want and we try to get rid of it. But even if there is no light in the hallway, you flick a little lighter, and you get a little flame, it starts glowing right in front of your feet and you can start walking, you can see, and you think, where's the darkness? Where did it go? Did it sit somewhere in a corner? No, it cannot withstand the light. The darkness disappears. So it's all one, and it's just how we want to see it and how we want to embrace it. And then I wanted to spread some more kindness and some more love in the world. And I wanted to start interviewing people because that's something I thought, I want to spread the word. I want to help. And I started interviewing scientists, spiritual authors, teachers, and I created a platform. And I started learning so much. And then I met this wonderful man who was connected to HeartMath. And I thought, what is HeartMath? And all the spiritual aspects of what we believe and what we believe is true. And we had, of course, the religion and spirituality, and we had science, and they were always kind of clashing. We always have had those frictions in the world. And then I began to see is that science tries to figure out, what the world is all about, and it tries to explain it in certain ways, and we do that here too. And we feel this oneness, and we feel this connection, and we share that with one another with those beautiful songs, and it makes us feel great. And so I started becoming more and more, my path started unfolding. And I know that when ex-colleagues of mine would see me today and speak about the heart and speak about love and leaving behind what I could have pursued, more in this large corporation, I'm so grateful that I met the things in my life that I needed to see and needed to face. And that didn't break me, but it truly broke me open. And I know that everyone is presented with those choices on a regular basis. And I want you to know that whatever we are seeking lies inside of you. You are the face of God. You are the entire ocean in a drop. And sometimes it's hard to believe. Sometimes it's really, really hard to believe that you are all that. Because we have been raised with the fact that we can create solutions from our intellect, and we can. We don't have our brains for no reason. But there are sometimes larger issues that we have to deal with, and especially on an emotional level, that we can't figure out with our brains. It just doesn't work that way. And then we seem to have a really hard time making that connection with our hearts, because we don't really learn that. Some of us do, and some of us done that, when we were little children. And I think then you're very lucky. But most of the parents focus on the fact that their child is basically, doing well at school and is making a great career. And often, that's coming from fear. We all make choices in life, but the fact is, do you make those choices from fear? Or do you come from passion and love and trust? And I bet when you present yourself with the choices that you make or the things that you say on a day-to-day basis, when you go deep in your heart and you become quiet, when you make the choices coming from fear. But you also know when they come from a true passion to do something you truly love, even if it doesn't make sense. I think that is really, really important to recognize that. So now we've heard a lot about getting into our hearts, connecting with the heart, and I like to know, how do you do that? You can do that through prayer. You can do that in many ways, and that is something that I'm very, very passionate about, and I would like to share with you this afternoon. How do you make that connection? How do your emotions affect your physiology? How do you can help change your body, where you can make different decisions, where you can think much more clearly while combining the feeling? And that's basically the field that HeartMath uses. It's a beautiful field, and I think we could all teach that at schools. And I'm working hard to get those programs introduced in schools. I currently work with in a clinic where we use the HeartMath for war veterans who are coming back from combat overseas with severe PTSD. I'm just in the middle of a 4-week session with women who have been abused mentally and physically throughout the RCMP and in the military. And it's just amazing to see, how we can get damaged in a way, and where we feel the oneness here in this beautiful community, and we see the separation often outside. And a lot of people think that we are so separate, but we are so deeply connected. And this afternoon I will also show you why we are not just feeling great here together, we feel this connectedness, but on a scientific level, we are deeply connected with one another. I actually want to finish my talk with a very short Buddhist prayer that really resonates with my own life. And I hope it can also resonate with you. And it says, "May I be at peace. May my heart remain open. May I awaken to the light of my own nature. May I be healed. May I be a source of healing for all beings." Thank you very much.
We have a workshop happening this afternoon, but I just thought if you could share just a little bit in terms of this visually, what basically HeartMath is, so that people can be excited to come this afternoon would be great.
Yes, thank you. All of our hearts beat, and we often don't realize that, of course. With every heartbeat, there is an electrical impulse. And people who have been attached to a monitor, like doing an ECG, we know that. And there's an electrical impulse. But with that electrical impulse, there is a magnetic field that's being created. And that magnetic field is very, very strong. That magnetic field is not just around our heart. That field penetrates literally through our skin, and we can measure it very easily up to 3 feet around our bodies. And that's our personal field. It's like our signature. And when that field is not coherent, I mean that is not optimal in a way it could function, it affects our nervous system, it affects the way we think, our brains. And we can find ways, there are tools and techniques to become more coherent, where your heart, your nervous system, and your brain start functioning and communicating at a healthy level. And that's basically what HeartMath is about. And you just saw that slide with the field around our bodies, and it looks like a donut. And you might recognize that field from a picture you might have seen from the Earth. I will show it this afternoon, because that field is exactly the same field with the North and the South Pole. That is the Earth's magnetic field. That's how we look at the compass, and the needle goes to the north. So we are affected by that field. And although that might sound a little strange maybe for some people who have never heard of that, that large field is also influencing our field. What it means is that, and it's the same what I was just talking about, it doesn't mean that we have to be just at the mercy of that field. And we can enhance our own field and can make it beautiful in a way that we can start living from a place that is truly us. And that's basically why we came here. You know, this is why we have been created. It has never been the fact that, you know, God at some point was holding Janet, you know, above the earth and thought, oops, you know, I dropped Janet there by accident. It doesn't work like that. You know, we are here with a purpose. And when we can find that purpose, that's basically where we can share the light with other people. And that's what I will be talking about more from a scientific point of view. We use tools and techniques. I will be showing you tools and techniques. We can practice them together, but I also will hook people up to a monitor, and you can see the effects of our emotions on the rhythm of our heart. So it's a very cool get-together. So I hope you are willing to join me.